Hello, everyone, and welcome to Entrepreneur Talks podcast. So today I have Gemma Perkins with me. Thank you so much, Gemma, for joining me, and welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So before we start this conversation, which I know is going to be awesome, where are you talking from?
I am based in Sheffield in the UK,
So we are
and this
both.
is my home office.
Oh, wow. And I love that background with these trees and stars. I don't know. Where did you get that inspiration from?
Well, way back when we started working from home, my camera in my office faced my kitchen, and I thought I don't really want people to see whether I've done the washing up or not. So I got a bit creative, and I've put up an exhibition board. It was just plain black to start with, and I thought, no, I'm all into well-being and kind of connecting to nature. So I had a look at interesting tapestries, and welcome to my fairy forest.
It's amazing. I love it. I want to have something like that. You will give me some details, please. I'm
Absolutely.
really love this because it so transmits so peace and also like discovery and a lot of things for me. I would stay here talking about this background, but that's not the reason we are here. So, but it's interesting. So, Gemma, in 3 words, could you describe yourself?
Creative, quirky, organized.
Love it. Love it. It's really powerful. And so, creative, in what way you are creative? What do you do to be called creative? Creative.
So in my personal time, I would say I'm traditionally creative in that I do painting and cross stitch and I like arts and crafts. But in my work, I'd say I'm creative because I guess at heart I've always been an educator, but I really believe in learning through play. And so I can get quite creative where I might learn a leadership tool or a personality model or some sort of
Hmm.
personal development strategy and think, hold on a minute, how can I make a game out of this? How can I
Oh,
move away from just telling people this is a really cool idea, you should use it, and help them to learn it themselves by a creative method. So I apply my creativity to try and bring in problem solving and learning experiences for my clients.
that's fantastic. And you do this, I assume that is a lot of work through video, right?
At the moment, it's a lot of work through video. That also requires some creativity. Before 2020, most of my work was training people in the room. And
Oh,
then when everything moved online, I kind of thought, right, okay, how can I use breakout rooms and Jamboards and all the
yeah.
other online tools available to us to try and recreate some of these problem solving games and learning experiences. And quite a lot of them work. There are
Yeah.
some that I've still not quite cracked and I'm waiting to be back in the room for, but quite a lot of them I've found a way around it.
Oh, wow. Because that transaction can be very hard and like, yeah, wow. But it's good. It's good that you managed to move from one to the other and you still doing and having success with. So coming to creative again, there is something that you created, which you just said you speak, you deal with your clients. Could you tell us more about it? Believe,
So
yeah.
my business is called the Self Leadership Initiative, which is a little bit of a mouthful, but I guess I wanted. So just to explain, I when I was 16, I had the absolute privilege of taking part in a leadership program. And I had
Wow.
no idea what to expect, didn't really know what leadership was. I just thought, I'll go to this thing, it'll be really good for my CV. And actually, I learned so much about myself and how to set goals, how to motivate, manage my time, how to interact
Right.
with other people. And I ended up volunteering with this organization for a number of years.
Wow.
And eventually the gentleman running the organization, he moved to London, and there was a group of us that said, well, if you're moving to London, who's going to keep doing this important work in Sheffield where I'm based? And he said, well, start your own business if you like. So I ended up working out how to leave my job as a teacher and start my own business. And when I was thinking about what to call it, I realized that lots of people, when they think about leadership, think about the CEO in a business or a politician, the person in charge,
Yeah,
and about them directing others, which is one element of leadership. But
that's right.
actually, a lot of what we were doing in our youth program was all about understanding who you are, your identity, being authentic, being
That's
able
right.
to self-motivate. So that's why I wanted to do self-leadership to differentiate from traditional
Mm,
leadership. An initiative because it's all about taking action, starting the ball rolling, and
mhm.
getting that message out there. So I created that 7 years ago now, 7.5, I think.
Wow, well done. And you work with young people? Is that correct?
I work with anybody who's interested in personal development. So my heart lies with young people. I absolutely love doing youth programs, but it's not unusual for me to be working in corporate settings with kind of managers and team leaders. I work with refugees. I've done a little bit of work with political activists. I work in universities with kind of students student leaders, but also the staff. I've done work with teachers as well. So really it's a mishmash. I don't like to
Yeah.
settle on one group. Anybody who's interested in personal development and skills training, if they're up for learning in a creative and interesting way, then I'm more than happy to do my thing.
Oh, wow, that's really good because there we go. You said so well, and it's so true that the leadership starts within us, and we need to find these kind of things that you just mentioned. To be able to lead others, we need to be able to lead ourselves, and you give that training for you to understand where you are, where you should be, or where you want to be.
Mm.
It's so powerful, and like I asked you as well about if you like to work with youth, but you said you work with different people. But do you work mostly with women or still general female and males?
It is a mixture, but I have got a few things I'm doing at the moment that are for women only. So I have a collaboration through a gorgeous network called This Girl Consultancy, where we do monthly wellbeing sessions called This Girl Chills, where we do a mixture of um, kind of content that will help with well-being, such as habit
Wow.
setting or de-stress techniques and meditation, and there's a bit of a skincare beauty product thing to go
Oh,
alongside that
wow.
as well. So I've got a few things that are with women, and I have been known to do talks on women in leadership, but I also work with mixed groups as well.
That's really good. And it's been 7 years that you've been doing your business.
Yes.
So you are self-employed for the last 7 years.
When I first started, I had two roles to give me the safety net. And I think anybody who's thinking of starting a business will have that in mind. It's a difficult one because, on the one hand, where I was still supply teaching, I'd got that safety net of the money and the income, but it also meant that I wasn't using a full week to just make the
Mm.
business work. So gradually over those 7 years, the time
So-
shifted. And
Yeah.
now I think for the last 2 years, it's been full time just on my business, which is a real pleasure to see
Well
how
done.
far it's come in that time.
Yeah, well done. I know exactly what you're saying, and it makes sense. And is it's not a hard, it's not an easy process. But if we keep ourselves focused on what we love to do, and we slowly but surely, the universe will implement the the broken chain, like break the chains, and we just go for our thing, and it's so
Mm.
beautiful. Well
And it
done.
gives you time to build connections as well. Because what I found is that at the beginning, I had a couple of clients, but every year they'd ask for me to come back. And so over the years, the message spread. And so there was more interest, there was more work from them, but also for their network. So that time to build up a reputation and to be known for what I do has really helped. Whereas at the beginning, when you're just starting out and you don't have that reputation, it can be a little bit harder to hit the ground running.
Yeah, that's true. But thank you so much for sharing this. And now let's go back to well-being. Could you tell me what are some of simple ways for people where can improve their well-being?
Absolutely. So I do run a program called Tools for Happier Living, and it's basically cherry picking things from positive psychology. So
Right.
there's a big scientific community that's tried to work out how can we be happier. And
Mhm.
what's amazing is that it's not always talked about in the mainstream. So the first thing I always recommend, session one, is about practicing gratitude.
Yeah.
It's so easy, straightforward, but really powerful. And so I have had a gratitude journal since 2014. And the science behind it is that when you spend 5 to 10 minutes at the start or the end of the day just thinking about what are you grateful for and why are you grateful, give an explanation to it. So for instance, you could say, oh, I had a coffee with a friend. That's just kind of ticking off a to-do list. If you tell
Mhm.
us why, if you think to yourself, okay, because I really enjoyed the way they listened to me and that we have a good connection. Or maybe it was nice to take time out of the workday and relax into something. Or
That's
maybe, whatever it is, that coffee with a friend might be different every time. And
yeah,
so really giving words to that helps you to emphasize the positive in your own memory. It gives you a little boost of happy hormones.
totally.
And it means that you're not negatively comparing. There's so much on social media about they've got this and I've not got that. And we're in a society of competition, unfortunately. If
That's
we're practicing gratitude, it's protecting us from that competition and saying, I'm happy with my bubble. And if you do it before
totally.
bed, it can really help you get a good night's sleep because you're quieting all the voices in your head that might be worrying about what you've got to do tomorrow or thinking, oh, did I really say that? That didn't go well. If you say, no, I'm just going to concentrate on the things I really appreciate that have gone well, that I'm proud of, that have made me laugh, it puts you in a good mood. So
Yeah.
you get a good night's sleep. And obviously sleep is really important for well-being as well. So that would be the first thing I would recommend to anybody.
I
Try
love
and
it.
set up your own gratitude practice.
Yes, I love it. I do practice gratitude as well. On the other way, actually, I do in the morning by
Mm,
writing, and in the night when I sleep, I do another ones from my day, which I'm on just on my thoughts.
mm,
It's so powerful, and it's been for the last 4 or 5 years, I think. And
yeah,
because I had that switch, yeah, and change because a book that I read and transformed my life. And
mm,
I totally agree with you. It's such a different. And even yesterday, I was talking with a client about this because it's the main. I think it's the main key for you to start to see different things in your life,
mm,
to see the things, because you will start to see the things in a different way,
yeah.
because you are placing the gratitude inside of your mind and your soul and everything. So you will see things in a, like, no matter how the big is the problem or the situation, if it's hard or not, you will see a way to get through. And
Mm.
that's so important. Very, very good point. Anyone else, anything else? Because I
So
have a lot.
another big one that I recommend, which is a bit more tricky, but very powerful, is to connect to a sense of meaning. So I'm a big fan of the Japanese concept of ikigai, which
Mm,
is it means your reason for being, the thing you live for. And I used to be a primary school teacher, and I was always a little bit baffled that the system was about, learn some stuff so you can go and get a job. But that's
right.
not the same as asking somebody, what are you here to do? How can you serve the world? And those questions don't get asked. And so a lot of people, they've got their jobs, they're sort of happy, but it doesn't really put fire in their tank, in their engine.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas the people who are the happiest, when you do surveys, when you kind of look at the scientific research, they're people who really believe that what they're doing on a regular basis, it gives them a sense of meaning. And this can get quite existential, so it's a big topic. I don't hit people with that straight away because that can require a
Yes.
little bit of coaching and discussion. But if you want to start feeling that out, there's 4 really useful questions. What do you love doing? What are you good at? What does the world need? And how can you be rewarded? Which is sort of about, being paid to do it, but you can be rewarded in other ways. And if
Yes.
you can find something to do that answers all 4 of those questions, you're sorted. And it might not always be accountancy, it might not be a job title, but it might be a type of area of work. So for some people, it may be that they absolutely love spending time in nature and that they're really good at, understanding how
I
plants grow, and so they end up doing gardening, and that's what they do every day, and it may not be their job, but if they've got their little garden that they tend to every night after work, that's what gives them
Yes.
meaning.
Yes. Very powerful. Wow. Wow. Love it. Love it. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
And how can a well-being solution be lasting? Be long lasting, sorry. No lost.
So I think there has to be, if you're talking about within companies and organizations, it has to be really embedded in the culture. So I have
Mm.
heard of places where they go, oh, everybody's really stressed. We've got a high turnover of staff. Let's just put on a one-off yoga session. And you think, oh no, that's not a solution.
Yeah.
So you have to really understand, with whatever well-being techniques you're going to implement, what's the positive, the long-term impact? How can you embed it as a habit? How can you get people to
Mm.
be excited and see the payoff? Again, if you're looking at more of an individual, how do you make it long lasting? It will be similar. It's about understanding what's your motivation for doing this, and are you invested enough in the long-term benefits? The reason I ask that is that lots of people would like to feel better,
Right.
but
Yeah.
but they don't necessarily want to give up the 20 minutes it takes here and now to do something, because they feel busy and pressured, and that, well, I'd like to feel better in the future, but I need these 20 minutes now. So you have
No.
to really weigh up that this time for me to practice this skill, use this tool, to meditate, or whatever it is you're going to do, needs to become part of who you are to be well rounded
Yeah.
throughout the rest of your life. And that's a big commitment for a lot of people, especially when we're trained in this high pressure society that we've always got to be productive. Taking some time out
Yes.
just to relax can feel like a real indulgence, when actually it's an investment. It's, if we see it as, no, I'm taking this time now so that I can be better later, then that can flip the thinking.
But I understand it can be really, really hard because there we go. You started to explain from the culture of the company or organizations,
Mm,
and if there is no that kind of thing, people just get like, oh no, no, I have too much to do. I can't
mm,
spend this time. But it's so important. This is what I say to my daughter all the time because whatever we do now, it will pay off later.
mm,
Because no matter the less we do in this kind of the well-being, treat ourselves and look to our well-being now, we will see results from that day, but we will see in the future as well.
mm.
That's really powerful. I love this. I love what you do. I want to join. How can I join somehow?
You
This
would be most
network.
welcome.
This network sounds like my place. Because you said that you have a network, right? It is.
So a lady that I collaborate with, Bianca, runs a gorgeous network called This Girl Consultancy, which is
Yeah.
all about, each girl has their own story to tell, and it's networking, but it's based on doing
Well,
it from a holistic and a well-being basis,
that's
rather
beautiful.
than just, I'm here to sell you what I do.
Yeah.
We keep away from all of that business.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So, and now I'm gonna ask you, what are the biggest challenge to people finding happiness, well-being, and purpose?
We've sort of already touched on time
Mm-hmm.
and this idea, I guess, that there's a mindset thing there sometimes, that if I take the time out now, I'm not being productive, or I could have spent that time on something else. So that's a challenge. I think the way society is constructed kind of adds to that quite a lot, that we're perceiving that everybody's busy because we all put out on social media the things we achieve. We don't put on Instagram our pajama days necessarily, and the times when we are relaxing, but they happen. They're in the background. We're publicizing the busy things, and so it creates this high pressure environment.
Yeah.
But I also think a lack of education. So I studied psychology in my degree, and it wasn't until I got there that I realized about this whole area of positive psychology. I'd have been 20 years old before I realized there's a science to feeling good and being happy. I wasn't taught any of that at school or at college, but wouldn't it
Yeah.
have been great to learn? And if you as an individual don't know it, how can you pass it on to the community, to your children? So I think
True.
having spaces where we can have this conversation and empower communities to focus on that. A lot of our global metrics are around things like economy and gross domestic product.
You're
There's a
able to.
few countries talking now about the global happiness index, and I think if we shifted to well-being as a measure of a country's success, that would have a ripple effect in the educational systems.
That's so
But
true.
that's a very big picture way of over. Now I think just the grassroots, lots of lovely workshops and community spaces where people can learn these things, really feel the benefit, and then buy into them. you know and by buy into them, I don't necessarily mean financially, because a lot of them are so cheap and easy to do. I mean buy into it with the time and say, you know what, I'm ring fencing an hour a morning to have a walk or read a book or meditate, whatever it is that works for you. Put that into your day and know that it is about you saying yes to yourself.
That's so powerful. Yes, 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 yes. That's so good. Because this work needs really to get into the communities, the people, because there we go. Like you said, if we're not, like, we're not educated, it doesn't reach us. You know, if you don't read or you take a degree or you, and will be, even when you're studying, it will be a teacher that can talk to you about it.
Mm,
Sometimes there is not a teacher that will talk about it, even if you do psychology.
mhm,
I did study psychology as well. I had a brilliant teacher, but not everyone had that brilliant teacher,
mm,
and that's the what is it. And if we were all on the same, this would be a flourish kind of world, much flourish world
yeah.
than it is right now. But
And
thank you.
actually, in terms of the science as well, positive psychology is quite new. So it's only really popped up in the last 20 to 30 years, I think,
Mhm.
which compared to most sciences, Newton and physics and chemistry, some of the stuff we know there as scientific principles has been around for so much longer.
Yeah,
So it's embedded in our curriculum. Because this is new, universities, schools haven't caught up and said, actually, this is really important. Let's get it into our classrooms. So that's another thing that we can look at, is when we have got new research that is so useful for everyday
yeah.
situations, how do we make sure to communicate that and get that into the community?
You just gave me an idea, and I'm like, wow. And I just came up something in my mind. I won't share here, but it's related with the community. And I'm like, oh yes, yes, totally. Thank you for inspiring me.
You're most welcome.
And now we're coming to the end, but I would like to ask you, um sorry, sorry, my bad,
No
to
worries.
tell my listeners and myself, what is your or no, what is your social media? No, where can people find you on social media? And I also know that you providing some freebies to my listeners. And yes, let's talk about that. Social media and freebies.
So you can find me on LinkedIn, Gemma Perkins, and my company, the Self Leadership Initiative. I know that's a little bit of again, a mouthful to type in. I'm on Instagram as at Self Leadership One and on Twitter. And the freebie that I love to share with people is getting started with a gratitude experience.
Yeah.
So it's a 7-day email program where I'll talk you through the science, give you some exercises to work through on a daily basis. And the reason it's spread out over the 7 days is because it's all about building the habit rather than just having a mad hour of doing it. A little bit each day is what makes it powerful. So I'd love for you to download that and join me there.
Yeah, fantastic. But it's also another one that you send me, Tools for Happier Living Program and Free Taster Workshop.
Ah, yes. So I've got a rolling list for free tasters where you can come find out more about the program, try out a couple of well-being tools, and then if that is positive and you like the style of the training, you're most welcome to join the full program. I haven't got the next full program dates set up yet, but it's a year, it rotates over the year. So as soon as they're announced, they will be on the website.
Fantastic. And all this information is available on the description of this specific conversation right now, everywhere in every platform, and including on the podcast platforms as well when it's going to be live. So thank you so much, Gemma. I really, really enjoy our conversation, and I hope we inspired a lot of people and get to know you and find more about your services and keep doing what you're doing because it's powerful and very inspiring. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the conversation.
You're welcome. Take care. God bless you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Let's go to the video for the ending. Bye bye.